This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, True Seekers and True Crime Junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road, Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome to the show today Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. And Harriette Sucher.
Good morning. And
Good
I guess
morning.
the helicopter is saying good morning, too.
Great. All right. Well, I had some
clothes and there's a helicopter.
I have some interesting YouTube comments that was made by somebody who seems to be following the podcast. So I thought we'd start by covering some of those. And I know that you can't see what's on screen, Harriette, but I will describe it. Somebody named Miss Vanarak indicated that 11.21 on Dennis Kaufman's Real Story was the writing of one of the Harmon brothers from the Disney animator. They stated could be some of the other writing too, but this is less disguised, and Z13 solve, which it turns out to be the Count Marco letter.
Okay.
You know which one I'm talking about, Harriette?
Yeah.
Red Phantom, Red with Rage.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course I found it interesting that they're claiming this belongs to the Harmon brothers out of the Disney animation, because we do find some type of a Disney connection, with some of the themes, the Jackrabbits and Alice in Wonderland. I mean, there's always some type of touchback to Disney in this thing, which may just be through movies, books. Yeah. But I was a little more confused. Go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, Disney designed the Scoopy Bee logo for, a bunch of newspapers in California. So I'm seeing Jack often somehow using the Sacramento Bee, the Sac Bee. We got a Zodiac communication that involves the Sacramento Bee. So it's just another clue. Okay.
Gotcha. Well, I thought it was interesting. The person said that writing is one of the Harmon brothers Disney animator, could be some of the other writing too, but this is less disguised. And I thought that was an interesting statement, because anybody can clearly look at this writing and know that this is disguised handwriting. This is not meant, people don't write this way. It's not the fastest, quickest, or easiest way to write. This is definitely a drawing, if you will, of handwriting versus an actual fluid, speedy, normal, natural handwriting from somebody. So when they said this was less disguised than what? Because I find that it's more of a disguise than any other writing that we see coming from the Zodiac Killer. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, there's a lot of elongation of letters.
Yeah, people don't write like that. That takes too much time. Come on now. Somebody's doing that. They're definitely attempting to disguise.
What are they trying? I'm sorry, but what are they trying to say, that Walt Disney is the Zodiac?
or one of the Harmon brothers from the Disney animator wrote this letter in.
It's so laughable as it goes on. Okay.
I know. I looked up Harmon brothers. If I have the right ones, I believe they're Mormon out of Utah. Do I have that correctly? Is that where the base for Mormonism is? Anyways, the Harmon brothers that I looked up was a set that really rocked the media industry, because they were coming out against Disney and against the movie production companies in a way, at least based on the limited research that I did, that got them into lawsuits with the media companies, as if they were attempting to butt heads. The Mormons were attempted to butt heads with the Jews. Either way, I will have to
Okay.
dig deep and find out what this Harmon Brothers is. I wish they had been a little more descriptive about what it is that they meant in this, because it didn't really make a lot of sense, but I thought it was interesting to share. Let's see here. Come on. The next one was at 10:28, Miss Vanerack said, first time I've noticed the swastika symbol on the Pines card to the left of the two people. Validates the latter defer letters. I don't know what that means. Do we know anything about any deferrer letters?
No, I haven't heard anything about anything like that, but
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised, because some people do think that a lot of this code breaking stuff, I mean, the codes used goes back to World War II, Hitler era, and et cetera. So.
Well, I think that it does too. I mean, obviously, that's where this ciphering and code stuff, I mean, they talked about period 19. That's way back in World War II. Go ahead, Nolan.
I don't see a swastika, and I don't see people.
I know. Hold on. I'm gonna explain that.
Oh.
It says the cross paths of the snow are shown on the Halloween card. The little circle on the map code is the design on Reet Jerviston's ring. So when he said there are a hell of a lot more down there, he was talking about Mulholland Canyon. The felt tip pen is the weapon of choice for the autograph hunter. We know that. We know that the felt tip pen, I mean, we've discussed that early on as it applies to the Zodiac Killer and Jack's love or use of that pilot pen, felt tip pen. When you look, I think what they're talking about right here, if you can see my cursor, Nolan, you see that?
Yeah.
Here, they're calling that the swastika. I think that's a huge reach. There's some people standing right here.
Yeah, I see what it's not a swastika.
These are clearly pathways to the condos. So if they laid the condos out to look like a swastika based on the pathway, I think I find that very hard to believe. Either way, if that's what somebody images and sees, then that's what somebody images and sees. I don't quite see the other aspects.
What are you tripping on?
Yeah, what are you tripping on? You're really digging deep for something there. There's also another person here. So we've got a person here. We've got two people here. We've got a pathway that leads one direction. We've got a pathway that leads to this condo. We've got a pathway that leads to this condo. We have a pathway that leads down the way to the next condos. And then we see some more pathways that lead off to those doors. So as far as I'm concerned, these are pathways. These are not swastikas. Image what you'd like. Next one, she says, I think it was a system of control of society, Masonic, military, and I've come to think MK Ultra military intel. The perfect crime began with Leopold and Loeb, 1924, ? Bonnie Huffman, unsolved murder, body left near a water culvert and the village of Loeb nearby, both sides of the Atlantic, wherever SOE was in World War II. Mary Jane Van Gilder, they think, is now solved, but I think she was a twin, but maybe didn't know it. The one that went to work at the military base somehow ended up dead near the Allen Institute, Montreal, and her sister assumed her ID. Reet Jerviston's body was spotted by a bird watcher and some glasses found near her body. So that's just a blatant Leopold Loeb copycat, but successful. So do you know anything about these people?
No, I don't, but it's alluding to, it goes way back, and Jack is, I'm looking for that particular 1908 stamp with the peyote to do the cure to the MK Ultra. So we're talking about mind control stuff that goes back really, Skull and Bones, even before that. It goes back a long time. So
exactly.
So they're onto something, okay?
Yeah, and they are mentioning Allen Institute, which is where we know MK Ultra was also occurring at in Canada. So, and we have the Canada letters from D.B. Cooper. So all of this stuff is still wrapping itself up nicely around it. I just don't know who she means Leopold and Loeb is, or copycat. Whatever that means. I'll have to do some extra, or hopefully she will watch this episode. I think the last episode I saw that she commented on was number 9. So she has a long way to catch up to this one in order for me probably to get any of these answers. She goes on to say, can you explain what you mean by MK Ultra safe houses to an English person? Just found your channel and I think you're on the right lines. Thank you, Miss Vanerack, because I think we're on the right lines too. And then finally she says, so the opposite of safe then, and that suggests he was a Manchurian candidate. No, ? So Manchurian Candidate, we've not really kind of covered this, but we know that this is something that's in the mix. So go ahead, Nolan.
Yeah, I just read the book, The Search for the Manchurian Candidate by John Marks. It's about CIA and the mind control experiments and drugs and all that. Ties in with the Frank Olson stuff and what's the guy's name that had the safe houses in New York? And
Hunter White.
Yeah. George Hunter White. Yeah.
George Hunter White. Who was the other person that was involved with him, Harriette?
What's his name? Sidney Gottlieb.
Yeah.
Sidney Gottlieb,
yeah. Yeah, Jack is constantly bringing in him.
Ira.
In the last 6 months.
What was Ira's name? Ira Feldman and Hunter
Feldman. Yeah,
and George Hunter White.
Feldman worked with White. Yeah.
Right.
Mainly in San Francisco. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and I think George Hunter White actually started the safe houses out in New York first. And so he was then taken from New York back over to San Francisco, which is where Jack ended up once he got an early discharge from a 3-year tour with the Air Force after being in Japan for 1 year, which is where they initiated the MK Ultra project. So he happened to be on the very base where they were teaching the American enlisted people to handle ham radios and learn to cipher and code and to do all of that back during World War II.
So White was ostensibly a federal drug agent based in New York, but the safe houses were operated by CIA offshoots. So he was doing both, but he basically hit his run of New York back then. And he had a lot of affiliations and sources in the mob and in New York Underground.
Of course, all of this stuff wraps up around the same political or mob type scheme where these are the people who are running our country or the world, if you will. I mean, they seem to be far reaching and capable of doing anything they want to do, including receiving pardons, which is what we're going to get back to right now. I'm going to recap. Last week, we were talking about Bebe Rebozo and a Saudi prince. So I wanted to kind of glean through some of the FBI FOIA information and as it relates to these individuals, because when I did a search on the Texarkana Phantom, I came up with related cases which crisscrossed over between Rebozo and the Saudi prince and a few other people that had some dastardly things going on. Either way, what I'm finding is that these people can get away with just about anything, and then they're eventually ended up pardoned. And one of these people are very close friends. Rebozo is very close friends with Nixon, and we know that Harriette solves are coming out to show that Zodiac is making communication or attempting to communicate with Nixon during his terms of office. So that recap, we were talking about Jack Anderson, who came out with his article in regards to Howard Hughes last week, and how they, the FBI wanted to dumb it down and say that his charges are not only false, but also ridiculous, when it clearly turns out that they are printing in the newspapers at this point in time that Howard Hughes has political moves that he's making. And so I wanted to just read a little bit of these articles. This one says over 100,000 from Silver Slipper to Danner. Let's see where we dropped that off at. Mahan turned over 100,000 from the Silver Slipper to Danner, who delivered it to Nixon's close crony, Bebe Rebozo. The participants won't talk about the transaction, responded Mayhew tersely. I have made it a matter of police to never to discuss political contributions on behalf of any client unless I have specific authorization in writing. In this case, I doubt whether the authorization would be forthcoming. Danner, who now runs the Sands Hotel Casino for Hughes, refused to comment. And Rebozo wouldn't take our calls. While Hughes was supporting Richard Nixon, he also courted Hubert Humphrey. The secretive billionaire hoped to use Humphrey, then vice president, to stop nuclear testing in Nevada. Bob, Hughes instructed Mayhew, there is one man who can accomplish our objective through Lyndon Johnson, and that man is HHH. Does anybody know who HHH is? Howard Hughes?
Hubert
Humphrey, I think.
Okay, yeah. Hubert Humphrey Hughes. Okay. Why don't... why don't we get word to him on basis of secrecy that is really, really reliable, that we will give him immediately full unlimited support for his campaign to enter the White House if he will just take this one on for us. The billionaire's secret hand-scrawled instructions indicate Humphrey's help had been secured. Hughes sought an order from LBJ inspired by Humphreys to halt all Nevada testing, or at least a 90-day delay to give him more time to prepare a case against the tests. I concur completely, Hughes wrote Mayhew on April 16th of 1968, with telling the VP that he is free to tell people in Washington if they don't grant the 90-day delay, I'm going to go public immediately. He threatened to make public scientific opinions that the test may have triggered an earthquake. Bob, Hughes added, I leave this whole campaign in your hands. I'm sure you should personally go to the White House after we have obtained the 90-day delay and endeavor to sell the president on a permanent policy. I'm sure HHH will be glad to go with you and set up the appointment. Mayhew suggests a personal message from Hughes to the president would be more effective. Replied Hughes on April 24th, you know I am perfectly willing to write a short personal message to Johnson, which we could ask Humphreys to hand deliver to Johnson. Or if we feel it would be more prudent, I could ask F to deliver it. F? Anybody know what is F?
No guess. Yeah.
Right. Why are they in code in their own freaking like newspaper article? F to deliver it. That way it need not enter. What's that?
I'm thinking of Fitzsimmons. I'm thinking it could be Fitzsimmons, because Fitzsimmons was the current president of the. I mean, aside from Hoffa in prison, so Fitzsimmons was a very big key player of doing things.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so it says F to deliver it. I that way it need not interfere with anything Humphreys has going. I feel we must start a negotiation with the AEC just as if we were negotiating a business deal. I think we can go through Humphreys. Humphrey, whose last name the billionaire would never get straight, acknowledged to us they had opposed the Nevada tests, but he, and then that's cut out, his opposition, he said before the approach from the Hughes people. That last couple words of that article was a little messed up. So here, go ahead.
Quick word on Mayhew. He was the fixer for Hughes, and he ran a private security organization. He was all over the place. He was in LA. He had affiliations with the mob, affiliations with the CIA.
Contract security.
Yeah. His involvement with the Kennedy assassination and possibly the RFK assassination too, because I think at one point the security guard that's accused of shooting Robert, Thane Caesar, I think worked for one of Mayhew's companies in Vegas.
Doesn't shock me.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayhew's everywhere. He pops up everywhere.
Well, evidently Rebozo during this had given out information in regards to a Banco Nacional de Mexico. And of course, every attempt for the FBI to make contact with this bank to find out where this money had gone or come from resulted in basic empty offices with a phone number that went there, nobody who answered them. So it sounds like your stereotypical, shelf corporation where they've set these offices up to make it look like there's a legitimate business going on, but there's nobody actually manning these offices. So in that they were able to actually make contact, and they found that these offices were not occupied by a bank. Here in a letter from Rebozo to Mr. Hoover, it says, just a note to express my appreciation as well as that of many with whom I've talked about your forthright stand with regards to the Martin Luther King episode. So we talked a little bit about that one last week. So he's basically priding Hoover on his stance against Martin Luther King, correct?
So it looks like
sounds like it, a very subtle mob-like style. The Martin Luther King thing. Remember that?
But I think also he's kind of saying, "Hey, I know you had something to do with this, and I'm going to hold it over your head."
Yeah.
Yep. So he goes, everyone knows the fine, unbiased position which you have always taken on matters pertaining to your government. Like he's just blowing smoke straight up his butt. Rebozo
Okay.
and
Yeah,
the
a lot of
AG
things
Mitchell.
going through my head.
He was
Well,
pulling a Hoover on Hoover.
the next one actually talks about Rebozo and his affiliation with the Attorney General Mitchell, which I think we talked a little bit about him. So we see that he has his hands in everything. Not only is he, and it says during his stay at Key Biscayne, Florida, the Attorney General, along with Miss Mitchell and his daughter, took a cruise with Rebozo aboard his houseboat. So we see affiliations there. That leads us into what we talked about, the stolen IBM stock. I believe it was something like 5,500 shares. Rebozo took 900 shares in exchange for a $100,000 loan and then tried to deny that he knew that these stocks were stolen. They were actually stolen, I think, out of the JFK airport, if I remember correctly. Let's see if I could see. Let's see. Yeah, here's a statement that Rebozo says he doesn't know the stock was stolen. Insurance company takes a suit against Rebozo for the stolen stock, and an inmate tells how the stock was stolen from Kennedy Airport and that the pledge for the loan from Rebozo's bank was known to be stolen by Rebozo. The informant actually had to say on this. What's that?
I'm saying the semantics, I think, would more be like I said last time, borrowed without permission.
Right. And probably through an insurance company, which is why an insurance company is the one now suing Rebozo. I mean, if he doesn't see insurance as a union, like the International Brotherhood Union, or like the mob, who would originally on the streets for small businesses charge them a nominal fee to keep them safe while they are stealing their money for protection, basically. It's kind of like what we see going on with the insurance companies in today's sense, that they are taking lots and lots of money. They refuse payouts on a constant basis for ridiculous things, and then they want to claim that they're protecting you. Anyways, the informant on the stolen IBM stock says for a payment in this matter, he also stated that another individual, one phonetic, not further identified, had a significant role in obtaining the loan from the Biscayne Beach Bank and in the disbursement of the stolen securities. Blank did not identify the securities pledged for the above-mentioned loan. Blank indicated he did not tell all he knew of the theft of the securities from Kennedy Airport because of political considerations, but he has found the Federal Correctional Institution at Texarkana, Texas, and maybe this is how they cross-referenced with Texarkana and the Texarkana Phantom. But Texarkana, Texas, so distasteful, he is willing to tell everyone if he can bring political pressure to obtain a transfer. So he's willing to tell all just to get out of Texarkana, Texas. Then we have the tell that Rebozo is inviting Hoover to the Boys Club of Miami, another institute. Does anybody know about the Boys Club of Miami?
No.
No.
The good old
we
Boys
don't
Club.
want to know.
Maybe we don't. Maybe it's another Bohemian Grove, Coconut Grove, one of these type of scenarios. Who knows? Then there is information in regards to a plan to assassinate Castro. So it appears as though Rebozo is involved with these Cuban anti-revolutionaries who then he brings into Florida through the SBA, who grants them a loan in order to build I'm thinking a strip mall or some type of a mall where they plan on using these Cuban refugees to set up businesses. And if they fail, no big deal. The SBA is going to still guarantee the rents for these properties to Rebozo to the tune of $2.4 million over a 20-year period. So regardless of whether the businesses thrive, they're pretty much setting up their own little shelf corporations just off the top using that entire method. Another check.
Could it be? I just wanted to ask, when you bring up about the the malls, the strip malls, where Adam Walsh ended up disappearing, isn't that one of their strip malls?
We would have to do some,
because I would have to ask Megan Walsh.
Right, it was Florida that he was.
Some people.
It was Florida that he was abducted, right?
Yeah, out of a mall. That's the story.
Well, we might need to get an answer to that. So further looking into, I just ran a search on Charles Rebozo. I came up with things like Watergate. So we see the connection to Nixon, Adnan Khashoggi, which is a Saudi prince, Watergate, a long list of Watergate files, George Steinbrenner, and Louis Patrick Gray. And then something called, oh, well, we know who Janet Reno is, and Hirnap, which is probably the name of a case that they were actually investigating. So just to give you a quick, brief rundown on who Louis Patrick Gray III is, he was acting director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation from May 3rd, 1972 to April 27th, 1973. During this time, the FBI was in charge of the initial investigation into the burglaries that sparked the Watergate scandal, which eventually led to the resignation of President Nixon. Gray was nominated as permanent director by Nixon on February 15th, 1973, but failed to win the Senate confirmation. He resigned as acting FBI director on April 27th, 1973, after he admitted to destroying documents that had come from convicted Watergate conspirator E. Howard Hunt's safe. Documents received on June 28, 1972, 11 days after the Watergate burglary, and given to Gray by White House counsel John Dean. Gray remained publicly silent about the Watergate scandal for 32 years, speaking to the press only once near the end of his life. This was shortly after Gray's direct subordinate at the FBI Director Mark Felt, revealed himself to have been the secret source to the Washington Post known as Deep Throat. Anybody got a comment on that?
Jack does not like Mark Felt.
Boy, that says
Jack
a lot.
brings
That's
him up.
a nice recap
we've
there
done
about
this.
Gray.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Say that again, Harriet.
Oh, I'm saying that Jack did not care too much for Mark Felt. I've got some of the decoded misses. I believe we covered them several months ago. But he's calling Mark Felt a traitor to the United States of America for betraying Nixon. And it is basically over that he got passed up. So, and Mark Felt is has a history. Okay. So that's what I'm saying.
So Nolan, now what were you saying?
Mark Felt betrayed. Mark Felt, several things, but that's a great recap. As if that's Wikipedia, they did a great job on that. That says it all about Gray. But Mark Felt also sabotaged Gray. Mark Felt felt jealous. He wanted to be the director of the FBI, and he felt after Hoover died, he should have been the director. But they named Gray instead, and the reason Nixon named Gray because Nixon knew he could manipulate Gray.
Gotcha. Well, then that brings us to George Steinbrenner, which was an American businessman who was the principal owner and managing partner of Major League Baseball's New York Yankees from 1973 until his death in 2010. He was the longest serving owner in club history, and the Yankees won 7 World Series championships and 11 American League pennants under his ownership. His outspokenness and role in driving up player salaries made him one of the sport's most controversial figures. Steinbrenner was also involved in the Great Lakes and Gulf Coast shipping industry. So we have another person at the top of the chain here that's being investigated for what I think he had something go wrong in the sports world, right? Does anybody know about George Michael Steinbrenner? I'm not a sports person, so.
No, I think what happened was there was a FBI investigation about some investments, some stock trades. I think that's how
I know.
In trouble.
I think he had to step down based on the research. Yeah, he had to step down from his position or his role. I wonder if that's the continuance. Oh, that's the continuance. Okay, This is what illegal campaign contributions to Nixon. The convicted part of Billy Martin's famous 1978 Liar and Convicted comment referred to Steinbrenner's connection to Richard Nixon. In 1974, Steinbrenner pleaded guilty to making illegal contributions to Nixon's re-election campaign and to a felony charge of obstruction of justice. Faced with a cost overrun problem with the United States Commerce Department, Steinbrenner gave 6 of his American shipbuilding employees special bonuses of $25,000 and directed them to turn around and personally donate the funds to Nixon's committee for the re-election of the president. Steinbrenner originally said he would fight the charges in court, but in August of 1974, 2 weeks after Nixon resigned, Steinbrenner pleaded guilty to 2 charges in the case. He was personally fined $15,000, and his company, American Shipbuilding, was assessed an additional $20,000. On November 27th of that year, MLB Commissioner Bowie Kuhn suspended him for 2 years, but later commuted it to 15 months. And then Ronald Reagan pardoned Steinbrenner in January of 1989, one of the final acts of his presidency. What did Reagan even have a brain at the end of his presidency?
You know, I'm Republican. You know I am, but I got to tell you, I'm glad I didn't vote for him. And what I'm seeing in a lot of the decoded missives lately that I keep doing, he was nothing but the cocaine cowboy, but he had a lot of great speech writers. So I don't know what's going on with his head. Okay.
Well, it goes on to say that in 1988,
Hello?
it goes on to.
I lost Harriette.
It goes. No, she's there.
Oh, you lost me? Sorry.
And you seem to be frozen, Nanette.
It goes on to say in 1988 and 1992, he supported George H.W. Bush. What?
You're back now.
Are you there,
Can you
Harriet?
hear me?
I can hear you.
Hear Harriet either.
Okay. I can hear Harriet.
Oh, there she is. She's back.
Okay.
In 1988 and 1992, he supported George H.W. Bush in the 2000 United States presidential election recount in Florida. Steinbrenner, who had voted for George W. Bush, donated $5,000 to the Bush-Cheney Recount Fund. In 2008, he donated to Hillary Clinton, Rudy Giuliani, and John McCain, giving $2,300 to Clinton's campaign, $4,600 to Giuliani's campaign, and $15,000 to McCain victory in 2008. So it looks like he has been promoting or pushing or at least funding his political attributes. We lost everybody.
I'm still here. I can hear you.
I lost Nolan somehow. Hopefully you'll be back. All right. So that brings us on.
Okay.
That brings us back to the connection between Adnan Khashoggi, Saudi Arabian multimillionaire and top middleman in arms sales. He's accused in bribery cases and has hired a Washington law firm to monitor congressional hearings affecting him. Interesting. Says Warner has over the years been observed, and this is Eugene Richard Warner, observed in the company of Adnan Khashoggi, a high-rolling gambler who frequently visits Las Vegas. Khashoggi is reported to be the son-in-law of King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. Warner accompanies Khashoggi during his gambling.
No,
okay, let me finish, Harriet. Let me finish, or we can't get to what you have to say. Khashoggi is reported to be the son-in-law. Stop, Harriet, stop. Khashoggi is reported to be the son-in-law of King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. Warner accompanies Khashoggi during his gambling in Las Vegas, and various reliable informants have reported that Warner makes arrangements for female companionship for Khashoggi and members of his party. So this is where the human trafficking comes in that you've been discussing in your solves, correct?
Very much so. It looks like it.
You're the one that brought up India or Saudi Arabia royalty, so I thought it was interesting that this is starting to show up in the mix.
Yes, it has. But I'll be really quick when you're bringing up about King Faisal and the Saud, then he's Khashoggi. That goes back to the 1953 Dwight David Eisenhower Saud or Saudi execute order that Jack keeps on bringing up. There was some secret, no matter what was going to happen, a pact was going on, and it has to do with MK Ultra, and they're going to destroy the files, all kinds of things that goes all the way on up to Bin Laden group. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but when you brought up King Faisal, bam, you don't know what you're hitting. Okay.
Well, I thought you'd like that. And that's why I thought it was important to have you on this one. So it's interesting that what I can take from this, that this particular communication came in after 1975. And I believe it was 1977 that MK Ultra was outed, right?
It was outed, but, I'm seeing that according to even Jack, it kind of never really ended. It never ended, but as far as it becoming known public-wise, so basically the head of the FBI or the CIA, who was Helms? Helms was FBI? He was the FBI. Helms. Yeah, Richard Helms.
And he was the one responsible for ordering
CIA.
all of the
I think he's
CIA. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
He ordered all of the MK Ultra files destroyed at one point in time, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm seeing them showing up in the Zodiac cases, all the communications. So they were destroyed one way, but they still exist. They're findable.
Well, it turned out in the research that I found, it stated that a clerk had accidentally misfiled 30,000 of these documents in the MK Ultra project in the wrong location. So when Helms thought he had done what he could to destroy all of the evidence in regards to the MK Ultra project, it turned out there was something like 30,000 documents that was discovered in 1977, which basically outed the entire program to America. Correct?
Yes.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
So basically, this goes on to say subscribers of telephones in the New York City area obtained and set forth. Los Angeles area telephone number subscribers are identified and set forth. Subject Eugene Warner is an escort in Las Vegas casinos for Prince K from Arabia, who frequents Las Vegas casinos. Investigation by the Boston Division negative, re-subject and is set forth. AUSA, Las Vegas declines prosecution. Of course they decline prosecution. It's better than a pardon, right?
From me. No, it's not us. Get away.
So the details, it says, is on February 20th, 1975, the New York office advised as follows. The following investigation was conducted in New York City to ascertain whether certain telephone subscribers were involved in White Slave Traffic Act activities on behalf of the subject. It is noted that New York telephone number 355-3100 is registered to the Hotel Waldorf Astoria. Who owns the Waldorf Astoria? Does anybody know that trivia?
I do not.
All I know is you're bringing up about the numbers, and that's what Jack keeps on bringing up in the 70s, I think. Anyways, that the numbers, all the list of phone numbers that were mainly going to be destroyed were the 411 of New York and the 411 of San Francisco, and where 411 was able to be operating since the 1930s. A lot of people think it's recent. So anyways, you're hitting something here. Okay.
Well, it goes on to say that concerning, okay, so that was the Waldorf Astoria, 301 Park Avenue, New York City, New York, 10022. Concerning subscriber to telephone number 245-7122, listed to Wilbur Stromberg, 65 West 54th Street, New York City, New York, which number is non-published. It was ascertained that this location is the Hotel Warwick. Anybody know anything about those people or that hotel?
Nope.
Isn't there?
I know a lot about the guy in the picture, though.
What do you know about him? Spill it.
Oh, he's heavily involved in the Iran-Contra affair. He was tied in with Oliver North and Richard Secord and all those guys. Yeah, he was
Ronald Reagan era.
He's a famous gambler, but he was an arms dealer as well. He was an intermediary.
And was it
for the Iran-Contra arms deals and the hostage crisis and all that?
And I believe I watched the documentary on the Iran-Contra, and Bush was also wrapped up in the middle of that, but he was given a pardon as well, right?
Yeah. Well, Bush was going to be
CIA.
Well, no. Yes, he was the head of the CIA before that, before Carter got elected under Gerald Ford. But then he was just a senator, but he was running for vice president on the Ronald Reagan ticket. And Reagan and Bush made a deal with the people that had the hostages not to release them prior to the election in exchange for missiles and whatnot. And so basically they were bartering with the hostage takers. And Khashoggi was facilitating all that. And so, of course, right after...
So they can get away with... They can get away with basically anything they want to get away with. Human trafficking
by the future president and future vice president.
And they were pardoned.
Then, lo and behold, right after the inaugurate Reagan, the hostages get released. Maybe even on the same day.
I believe it was Reagan that pardoned Bush, and then Bush later pardoned one of the other people that were involved.
Bush never got in trouble.
I know he never got. Well, no. He was involved. What I think I read was he was involved in the middle of a lawsuit that had that lawsuit or had that case, or maybe it was a criminal case on another person. Had that come to light, Bush would have been implicated. So that person was pardoned so that the trial never happened, and then Bush never became implicated in the entire thing. Correct?
Yeah, he was on the outskirts. So he never got. Yeah, he was never convicted or even
correct.
Indicted. Yeah, so
he slithered out of it, let's say.
Yeah.
So it goes
presidential immunity.
Real quick.
Even for future presidents.
Right?
My favorite book on all that is by Bob Woodward, and of the All the President's Men, author, Woodward Bernstein, Washington Post, Watergate. It's called Veil, Veil, and it's on the whole Iran-Contra mess.
Well, this goes on to say New York City, located on the corner of 54th Street and 6th Avenue, New York City, inquiries conducted at the management office of this hotel reflected that Wilbur Stromberg is a white male, approximately 62 years old of age, who's resided at this location for a considerable number of years and is connected with the management level as an executive of MGM Studios. There's their connection. New York City. Right? The hotel advised that Mr. Stromberg can be reached at his office at MGM. So William Stromberg, or Wilbur Stromberg, is a official, obviously, at MGM. None of this is shocking me. So going on with Eugene Warner and Prince K in human trafficking, it says, caption subject is an executive at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas and is known as the Golden Pimp. Subject provides prostitutes for hotel guests. Prostitutes for hotel guests and high rollers. Subjects arrest records and descriptive data set forth. Subject reportedly closely associated with a wealthy Arab gambler named Adnan Khashoggi, also known as Prince K, son-in-law of King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. It says parents Herman and Sarah Weisberger. Warner changed his name to Warner in May of 1941. So who is Warner? Warner is Eugene Richard Warner. Changed his name to Warner in May of 1941 and is a licensed real estate broker in Las Vegas. Subject in the past has been described as a runner for DOC stature, an alleged gangster in Las Vegas during the 1950s. Criminal record, Los Angeles Police Department number 96174. Subject arrested October 12th, 1946 on robbery charges. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Office number B-994. Subject arrested October 17th, 1946 for violation of local ordinance 330. On October 29th, 1958, subject was arrested by Clark County Sheriff's Office and was held for investigation. On December 27th, 1954, subject arrested at Sands Hotel, Las Vegas and charged with investigation procuring. Height 5'10", weight 165. Hair gray balding, eyes green, scars and marks, birthmark right corner of mouth, marital status single. For information records, Nevada Power Company. Oh, really? We're going to get into the power companies now. Nevada Power Company, Las Vegas, on October 3rd, 1974, reflects that there is one listing for Eugene Warner located at 2765 Heritage Circle, Las Vegas. Records, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department reflect one Eugene Warner reported a burglary at his residence on August 4th, 1974. Residence was listed as 2765 Heritage Drive, number 74-32609. Warner listed his social security number as blank and gave his birth date as September 22nd, 1914. Files of the Las Vegas office reflect that Warner has in the past been closely associated with numerous Sands Hotel executives in Las Vegas, Nevada, and particularly associated with Carl Cohen. I think you like that one, Harriette. Former part owner of the Sands Hotel in Cohen, Carl Cohen. Haven't you mentioned a Cohen relation? Cohen.
Oh my God, I probably did. Yeah, I think so. I think somewhere's in the mix. Yeah.
So it says he was former part owner of the. It says he was former part owner of the Sands Hotel and current vice president and general manager of the casino of the MGM Grand Hotel, Las Vegas. Nevada, Warner, and Cohen have in the past traveled together to England and Europe, and Warner has additionally made trips on his own. Whew, that was a whole lot of political mobster mess, if you ask me.
The names popping up for me are Bugsy Siegel, Will Wilkerson, and then let's see, Meyer Lansky, allegedly the shooter of Bugsy Siegel, and then you got Elizabeth Short. All these names and these eras. I mean, that guy would have been a perfect double agent. You know, not saying bad things exactly about him, and not 100% good either. I'm just seeing this loops. Oh my God!
Right?
Wow,
Right,
what a life he
had. Exactly. Well, at this particular point in time in the 1970s, we have some appeal paperwork from Jack on his workers' compensation suit. It does indicate that he filed it on November 2nd of 1973. He has a hearing for the work comp claim from Lake Tahoe City Linen in Sacramento, California. So this is putting Jack right back into the mix in the 70s in Sacramento, where we see all of these other murders that have been picking up and beginning to happen in the Sacramento area. This suit was brought by Jack Terrence against the linen company he worked for, where he had met Nora, and it was, I already said when it was filed on, but it does give us kind of a sense of what Jack was going through during this time. He's asking for need for medical treatment, medical legal costs, temporary disability beginning February 7th of 1973 and continuing, permanent disability, apportionment, lien claim of Department of Human Resources Development, and overpayment of temporary disability. So he is pretty much not receiving any payment right now at all. And that may allude to why he's shooting out all these letters as the Zodiac saying, hey guys, where am I supposed to get paid? Where's my money for the jobs I've been doing
and
for
where's
you?
The cure? He's trying to find the cure. That's when he's starting to try to find that cure, and he's chasing that elusive butterfly. Yeah, he's sending out all kinds of stuff, and he knows what's going to happen with Nixon. And yes, definitely. Wow, amazing stuff that I'm seeing that keeps coming up, and it's matching up with what you're saying.
Nice. Well, that brings us back to the Jack 72-73 injury and work comp case or visits to the VA at Fort Miley. So it talks about seeing Dr. Jennis in February of 1967 for low back surgery. Dr. Jennis recommended a discogram. However, applicant did not have the money to have it done. So he went to the Veterans Administration Hospital and arranged for a discogram to be performed on December 5th at Fort Miley. So I'm going to guess that was December 5th of 1967. It continues to say that, let's see, when asked about general health care, the patient gave a chiropractor's name as his family doctor. When asked when he first had any back symptoms in his entire life, the patient states that this is 1962 when he injured his lower back. He states that this led to surgery in 1966 and he returned to work in 1967. So I'm not sure if somebody mistyped some of the dates on here because it's stating that he's just looking at low back issues in February of 67, but here it's saying that he had actively had surgery in 1966 and back to work in 67. He states that he began having upper back problems in 1973, which we know that is not true because he's claiming the work comp case against South Lake Tahoe City Linen in 1972. So he said he still has upper back trouble. He has been treated by Dr. Weinstein at the San Francisco Veterans Administration Hospital, and he has had intercostal blocks for the site, and on one occasion required a test tube for a pneumothorax secondary to the intercostal needles. So this is that limp that everybody is seeing in the Zodiac Killer. I believe that this is the lower back issues that Jack has that causes him to walk with that lumber, that limp that they have witnessed.
Yeah, he has a shorter leg. One leg is shorter than the other, so that adds to it too. But you're going to have upper back problems with that shoulder area when you jump out the D.B. Cooper plane and you mess up your shoulder. That's Dennis's story. He said he never forgot that. He knew Jack came home with a busted up shoulder. So this matches up, makes him the even more perfect D.B. Cooper suspect.
Right.
So real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Off the subject matter, I'm going to go to Best Buy and get Harriette a bargain laptop, and she can just make the credit card payments. I want her to be able to
I have a laptop. My problem
is the internet.
I can't get
her internet connection.
So you have to call in. Okay.
The internet.
Yeah. So I did look up Fort Miley. I've got less than a minute here, so I'm going to finish this last slide and we'll sign off. But I did look up Fort Miley military reservation in San Francisco, California, sits on the Point Lobos, one of the outer headlands on the southern side of the Golden Gate. And of course, we started to see Golden Gate murder drops, or places where people were being murdered at the openings of the Golden Gate, just recently with some prostitutes in the last couple weeks. And National Park, there were 3 to 4 murders in the Golden Gate that were possible Zodiac victims. So that's about all we have time for today. You guys, is there anything last minute real quick you want to say?
Nope.
I'm just going to say, oh, you first, Nolan, go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to get hot real soon.
Oh, it's hot already. But
Yeah.
Yes,
Google
it is.
me, buy the books, please. And it's going to be a great weekend. Okay.
Awesome, you guys. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Take care, and we'll see you next Friday.
See you Friday.
Bye.
All right. Maybe.
Oh,